How's everyone doing? Today's project is this Lawn Boy push mower, and as you can see, the problem is it's leaking fuel from the carburetor bowl. So we're going to take a peek at why this might be happening and see if we can fix it. Alright guys, so I got the fuel shut off here, so that's why it's not dripping anymore. There's two main reasons why these carbs are going to leak from the bottom here. One, well actually three. Maybe the nuts on the bottom are not tight, so try to tighten those up. Maybe that's your problem. There is a bowl gasket between this bowl and the carburetor base itself that could be bad, leaking fuel out. And the third most likely cause is the needle and seat within the carburetor is actually not seating properly. I guess there's another reason. There would be a fourth reason, is if the float itself is either stuck, the float is stuck, or it's full of gasoline, then it won't rise to shut off the fuel and close the needle and seat. So those are your main reasons. What we're going to do is try and troubleshoot which of those four reasons it happens to be. So again, I've got the fuel shut off here. I'm just going to take this fuel line off, and there is going to probably be some fuel between here and here. Okay, so that a little bit stuck on there. So I have this homemade fuel line tool that I built or made. Pretty simple. If you want to build your own, you can go have a video for that, and I'll put a link to it in the top right corner there now, and you can go check out that video. Alright, so that's that. Next thing we're going to do is take this carburetor off. So these ones are a little bit tricky to take off. How I normally take them off, the easiest way I found anyways, is I'm going to go ahead and remove this little screw here and this screw right back here, and that'll remove this bracket which has the auto choke mechanism attached to it. And I don't know if it is T20, I can't remember, T20, yeah. Alright. A lot of times you can pull that off. Just put that aside. Now, there's also the linkage here for the throttle control, or the the governor. So you just turn this lever all the way as far as you can, and then this arm slides out, and then for this guy, just simply sometimes you need a little pair of pliers to get at that, so I'll get a little pair of pliers. There we go. And then the whole carburetor just comes right off. So now I'm going to take you over to the bench, and I'm going to pressure test the needle and seat first, and check to see if that's our problem. Alright, so I got you up on my bench here. I'm going to use a little bit of a specialty tool, which I think I got on Amazon for maybe $100, and the brand is called Mighty Vac. And what this does is actually pressurizes the carburetor, and then you can actually see if there's any air leaking past the needle and seat. If you pressurize it with about 5 to 7 psi and the pressure stays the same, we know the needle and seat is actually doing its job properly. So I'm just going to hook this up to the fuel intake, And then I'm going to pump up the pressure. And at this point, it's not building up any pressure whatsoever. Let's open this up and take a look and see if we can figure out why this thing is leaking. So this is a 10mm nut, or bolt I should say. Alright. So the bowl gasket looks pretty good. I'm going to assume it's not that. I'm going to just take this little hose off here. So I'm going to take this off. It doesn't look like the float is stuck. I just had a big piece of crud after I blew in there. Here's the seat. So this rubber tipped needle must go into this seat, and you're not going to see it, but it must go down in there and actually shut off the fuel. So if the seat on here, the rubber part on the needle is actually bad, or there's some gunk in the seat preventing it from closing, that could be your problem. And I do believe I saw some junk come out of there, so I'm gonna retest this without the bowl. I don't know. So let's see if that's what the problem was. If not, I'm gonna have to replace the seat and check it out. Alright, take a look here now, guys. If I put in about 5 psi, it's actually holding a little bit of pressure, but it's dumping that pressure almost instantly. And then even if I hold this down, it's not holding the pressure. Okay, now if I hold the seat all the way down, then it will hold the pressure. You can see there. As soon as I let go on the head of that needle, it stops building the pressure, holding the pressure even. Alright, so we're going to have to replace some components here. I'm going to start off with the needle valve, and hopefully that's going to be our issue. If we take a closer look at the needle valve here, it does look like it's deformed, the rubber tip here. Alright guys, so I have a new needle valve here. Replaces the Honda part number there. That's the OEM part number. This would be aftermarket by Stens. And here's your new needle valve. So let's give this guy a whirl. Get this to go on, you kind of have to put the spring on and then depress the spring so you can get the head up and in there, and then that spring just kind of puts tension on there. So let's try this guy out now. And there you go, look at that. Put 5 psi in there and it stays at 5 psi. So what I should have done before I put that guy back in, I'm going to spray this all out with some carb cleaner. While I'm in here, I'll just take out the main jet and emulsion tube. Check those over. Sometimes the here's your main jet. Doesn't look too bad. I'm gonna spray it out with some carb cleaner though. But sometimes the emulsion tube here doesn't want to come out. There we go. Here's your emulsion tube. So the emulsion tube has all these little holes. You're probably not gonna be able to see any of those little holes, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little holes in this guy. So I'm going to shoot all this stuff with some carb cleaner and I'll put it back together, and we're going to put it back on the mower and test it out. So one thing I forgot to mention, guys, I like to do is I like to put like a little drop of like 3-in-1 oil here just into the seat area before I go ahead and reinstall the needle valve, and that just helps the lubrication. I mean, you got a rubber tip, so a little bit of lubrication is nice for that. And also when I put it back together, I'll test it, because there would be fluid in there when you test it, and sometimes that fluid or that little bit of oil actually helps make a little bit better seal when you're testing the needle and seat as well. Alright guys, so putting this back together, just the reverse. Start with little spring. Throttle arm. This guy back. Before I get too far with this. Put this guy back in there. Two little screws in. Alright, so that's all back together. Fuel line can go back on before I get too far into it by putting on all the air cleaner box and stuff like that. I'm going to go ahead and turn the fuel back on and see what we got. So if it's going to leak, it will probably take maybe a minute or two to manifest itself. We'll shouldn't leak though if we've found the problem. Alright, so there you have it guys. That fixes our fuel problem. Like I said, there's 4 main things, and we just found out that it was the needle and seat. And so if you guys like the video, hopefully maybe you learned something, go ahead and hit the subscribe and the like button, and it really helps me out on my channel. And until next time guys, take care.